Hello, and welcome to another edition of Business and Financial Raw Talk. I am LaWanna Bradford, here with you on E360 TV. And I'm so excited because this is a very special edition of Business and Financial Raw Talk. Check it out behind me. We have that way. I'm a best-selling author. My latest book, I Pledge Allegiance, A Journey Through the Words That Shaped the Nation, premiered as a bestseller on Amazon in the category of history of race and ethnicity. I'm so excited because this book was actually something that I stumbled upon, and I'm saying stumbled upon. It wasn't part of my existing manuscripts that I've been writing, but during the course of this year, with all the changes that are happening in the United States, I found myself looking at the news one particular day, and the words of I Pledge of Allegiance just began to go over and over and over in my mind. So I began to journal my thoughts. And after a couple of weeks, I realized, you know what? As I was digging and exploring and doing my own introspection and assessment of where I stand in this United States of America at this time, I realized that I had some makings of a book. And I thought, I want to put pen to paper, and let's see where this takes us. So today, what's going on? The thing that is going on is we are here for my book launch, July 22nd, 2025. Today is the official day of the book launch. You may have seen posts over the last 5 weeks of us on social media letting folks know we're coming. Pre-sales are open. Kindle editions are available right now, and soon the paperback will be available. But the great thing about this has been this amazing journey of seeing where we debuted overall as high as in all categories of history and race and ethnicity. We ranked as high as 39. In new releases, we held number 1 for 2 weeks, and then we bounced between 2 and 3, and back and forth. Right now, we're at number 2. So it's just been a great and exhilarating ride, and today I'm just excited because I get to bring to you some individuals who have been a part of supporting me in this initiative, but also some readers of this book to give you their perspective of what their thoughts are and how this book has perhaps moved them, caused them to think of things in a slightly different way. We'll be right back for more of I Pledge Allegiance, A Journey Through the Words That Shaped the Nation. Well, you can get your copy of this book right now on Kindle. I Pledge Allegiance, A Journey Through the Words That Shaped the Nation. It is a bestseller. I'm excited. I have done many books before, but I have been a collaborative author in books and have held the title as bestselling author. But this time, this is my solo project. So I want to encourage you, please get your copy. I'm also going to share with you a couple of clips from a few interviews that I've held recently, just talking about this book, why I wrote it, and what it's all about.
Commented and really connected with you on that. I want to say for those who are just tuning in, welcome. Y'all are watching Cyrus What Presents here on Amazon Live, but we're simulcasting it on social media. We're speaking to my friend, LaWanna Bradford. You all know her as a serial entrepreneur. She's a media personality in her own right, but also the author of as you can see there, the new Amazon bestseller, I Pledge Allegiance, A Journey Through the Words That Shaped a Nation. It's officially out in Kindle July 22nd. So depending on how you all are watching or listening to us, it may be available for pre-order, may be available to go ahead and order it now. LaWanna, looking at that screen, how does it feel to have an Amazon hot new release right now? Your book's sitting at number 2.
It feels great. It has bounced from I was number 1 for 2 days, but I'll still take that and pat myself on the back. But I've been bouncing back and forth between 1 and 3 holding for about 4 weeks. And I then dropped, but then bouncing back. And it's exciting to just watch this happen and realizing that it's piquing curiosity.
Yeah. So let's talk more about the book itself. I Pledge Allegiance. So you take, as you mentioned, these words, and you're able to not only to think about the words, to talk about the words, but also give a call to action. Talk to us about that part, because I think for so many people, LaWanna, we live in a world that unfortunately people want to be told what to do, and which is how we end up in very dangerous positions sometimes when we give up so much of our power. We don't want to do anything ourselves. We just say, well, you just do it. I'll give all this power to you. What do the words mean to you, LaWanna, when it means to embracing your own power and your own call to action?
Is it okay if I read one section of the
Oh,
book that I
definitely, sure, of course,
answered that?
yeah.
I said, that's what I ask myself when I look at the flag. My red, white, and blue carries a meaning that is perhaps profoundly different from those longing for a golden age. I do not believe America has reached its pinnacle, her brilliance, and her breathtaking potential. However, it flickers like a distant star. Yet I still pledge allegiance, not to man, not to a system, not to wealth or influence or fear. I pledge allegiance to the ideals, the dignity of the human spirit, the power of community, the relentless hope woven through our diversity. I pledge allegiance to we the people, a nation born of slaves and settlers, of indigenous people, of immigrants and refugees, to the hands that built this country and the voices that still fight for it. I pledge allegiance to my neighbor, to my community, to this great land, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. I pledge allegiance not to what it is, but to what it could be if only we dared to be. So it was a reflection in writing this of these words and really looking at, when I say I'm an American, when I say that I really care about my neighbor, what does that mean? Is it just words that I recite thousands and thousands of times like many of us have done? Or is it something I believe in, a truth that I live because that truth aligns with my values? So the call to action for everyone is, the way this book was written, Cyrus, is in a very deliberate style. It's done in an interrogative style, meaning you are asking yourself these questions as the reader. And there are a lot of questions peppered throughout because I'm taking you through how I unpackaged it for myself. And you may not end up where I did. It's not trying to lead anyone. But at the end of the day, I know that every person who reads it will have a true answer for themselves in their truth, where they stand, and being willing to defend and stand whatever that position may be. And so that's the call to action, is be willing to ask yourself the hard questions, be willing to stand for your truth, and be willing to defy indoctrination if you so choose. But I have something real exciting to share with you. My book actually has a song. Yes, I have a song for my book. And I'm going to pull it up for you in just a moment. And play a couple of key photos. And these photos are because this book, if you see right there, man, saluting, is my father, the late Sergeant Major Harlan L. Bradford Sr. And my journey with him as my mentor, my coach, my friend, really placed within me the heart of a patriot. I always tell people that if you had cut Dad, he would have bled red, white, and blue. And, I get that honestly. I truly love this country and have a belief in the hope and the promise that it holds for each of us. And some of you may agree or disagree. That's not what this is all about. But this book, let me just give you a little bit of insight before playing the song. The book, as I said, was an introspective journey that I was taking. It was my journal. And then from there, as I began to unpackage some truths and realization for myself, I thought, let's share this with everyone. Because when you think about it, the Pledge of Allegiance here in the United States is something, as from childhood in our schools, we recited over and over and over again, literally thousands and thousands of times that we say this pledge. And when you think about impressions, right, and the things that we say and how it impresses our subconscious, I began to question how that may have shaped me, my perceptions of things, my resistance to things, my questioning of things. And so in this book, you will find peppered throughout questions that I have, questions that I asked myself, that until I was able to comfortably answer them, I didn't feel that I could say this book was complete. And so in this journey, if you will, the reader will find themselves asking themselves the same questions. But guess what? The beauty of it is it's like a fingerprint, because you are an individual and you've had your own lived experiences and you have your own thoughts, value systems, expectations, beliefs. You are going to come out of the other end of reading this book different. Now, what that difference means, I don't know, because everyone is different. But I don't believe that you can actually go through the stories that I unpackage, asking yourself certain questions, and in the book as the same way that you began reading the book. As I mentioned in a couple of my interviews, individuals may not end where I ended, and that's okay. But it is something that makes us sit back and think about just our whole belief system. Where does it come from? Are we merely creatures of indoctrination and we just follow the crowd? I don't know. But what I realized is that if you had asked me a couple of years ago if I felt that I had been in part of a system of deep indoctrination, I would have said, absolutely not. What are you talking about? No, we live in the United States of America. No, we're not a socialist or communist country. No. But as I started to unpackage the backstory behind the Pledge of Allegiance, I realized, yes, there is seeds of indoctrination here. And there is a reason, right? There's a method behind all of this. And we will get to that in just a moment.
From the segregated military to modern movements for justice, this book uplifts the stories often left in the margins. With a rare blend of poetic grace and historical insight, Bradford moves beyond retelling American ideals. She reimagines them through the lived lens of those too often pushed to the margins. Black women who carried burdens and dreams, indigenous ancestors whose sacred truths still echo, immigrant allies who stood shoulder to shoulder in faith and sacrifice, and unsung patriots who, despite betrayal, still believed in the promise of America. I pledge allegiance is a love letter to resilience, a reckoning with history, and a call to rise, not with bitterness, but with clarity, conviction, and hope. It's a reminder that patriotism is not silence, it is speaking truth while holding the flag in one hand and faith in the other.
That is my song. I pledge allegiance, and it really speaks to uh, the cry to be recognized as Americans, not just in word, but in action and celebration, and embracing truly who we say we are. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and with liberty and justice for all. I want to take a moment to just encourage you to go to Amazon and get your copy. You can download it for $4.99 today. Your Kindle version, paperback will be available a little bit later. And you will be able to go through your own personal journey. It is an interactive book. And one of the things that I say here is the issues of today are loud and urgent. We recognize that, right? We're not in denial. We don't have our heads buried in the sand. We get it. As Marvin Gaye said back in the 70s, what's going on? Well, we are in that what's going on phase. And we're feeling more divided than ever before. But what matters to me in this moment is the mirror, the reflection of ourselves in the words we say over and over again. And recognizing, what does it really mean? How do I show up in my truth and my value system? Does it align with this Pledge of Allegiance? And if so, how do I demonstrate it in my family? How does it become this ripple effect in the community, the nation, and the world? Well, one of the things that I'm excited about with the launch of this new book, I Pledge Allegiance, the journey through the words that shaped the nation, is I get to hear feedback from individuals like you, others who've pre-ordered this book. And I have none other than an amazing celebrated author herself, Miss Cornelia, also known as Connie Brown, who is here to tell me a little bit about why she decided to pre-order this book.
Well, first of all, I want to congratulate you. It is a super awesome title. And immediately when I saw it, it spoke to me. It spoke to my heart, because I am now, this is my 12th year being an American. And so I am one of those that have to stand there and pledge the allegiance and renounce my birth country and pledge the allegiance to the United States of America. So what this did, I love things that trigger conversation. I was like, I wonder where she's coming from with that. And because you have such an intriguing way of looking at the world, you're not just looking at it one way, but you including all of us. You have such a broad horizon. You're such a deep well. So I knew already it would go bestseller as soon as you mention it. But I was like, okay, so how did I feel? It took me back to that moment when I recited it. I was so nervous, I almost passed out right at that moment. However, what it meant for me at that moment is coming to a place of unity, coming to a place where we say indivisible. I didn't even know what that meant, not divided. And then in my heart, as I raised my hand, I felt a little twinge. And I was like, okay, I'm going to pledge the allegiance, and I'm going to pray that we all going to continue working at this harder at every moment. And then, of course, in nowadays, where we find us in 2025, we really have to reopen that conversation. And so that's what it triggered in me, a massive amount of mixed emotions. And I spoke to my husband about it, and he said, "What are you doing now?" And I said, "I can't wait for Miss LaWanna's book." I would say, but it just triggered such emotions in me when I was standing there. And when I knew we are not as unified as we should be, we are not as indivisible as we would like to be. And so that's what triggered it in me.
I really appreciate it, and I so value your opinion because many people may not know who are watching this. You're also an advocate and an ally for diversity, equity, and inclusion, and you have numerous books, from children's books to just those deep thinking relationship books on where we really stand with each other and accepting one another as they are, and the fact that you are a naturalized citizen, I should say. Your input meant a lot to really hear from that perspective, right? Because when we're in a country, sometimes we take so much for granted. And like you said, you were standing there and you're pledging, but you still weren't certain of what the words meant. And that's what this book does. It takes people through the journey to say, do we really know what it means, or are we just conditioned to just keep saying it over and over again, but we don't really know?
Absolutely powerful, powerful. And I cannot wait to have discussions, because I love bringing books in and just having my circle of friends, the multitude of hodgepodge of humanity around me, and discuss that. So again, incredible title. And yes, do we really know what that means? And do we have it in here? Do we just have it up here? But do we really have it in here? So congratulations. And I know it's going to go straight up to the stratosphere.
Well, thank you so much. And I want to just let people know, if you want to follow a brilliant author, if you're someone who is for inclusion and you want to have those conversations, reach out to Cornelia Brown. She has numerous books, again, children's books, as well as books for your adult readers. And her latest, Edelweiss and Collard Greens, is available on Amazon. So I read that, and it's great. And maybe we can talk about having a book club where we talk about both books.
That sounds absolutely awesome.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. And folks, get your copy, latest release, I Pledge Allegiance, A Journey Through the Words That Shaped the Nation, available on Amazon. As you can see, we did hit #1 in new release. We're bouncing between 1 and 3, but we're excited that we do hold the title of bestseller of new release, and also have ranked as high as number 39 of the top 100 in history and race relations category on Amazon. So we're real excited. Thank you again, Connie, for joining us, and I will see you soon.
God bless everyone.
Thank you. I'm excited. This is the second part of our book launch, and I want to talk a little bit about why this individual is so important to where we're going with the future of this book. And that is none other than Demetria Warren, who is the president of the Southwest Association of Buffalo Soldiers, based in Sierra Vista, Arizona. How's it going, Demetria?
Hello. Thank you for inviting me. It's going really great to walk in our truth and honor our legacy. It's so much fun that we can talk about our families and soldiers that we commonly shake hands with every day. It's really cool.
Well, let me ask you before we get into the book. I know that you've been associated with, whether indirectly or directly, with the work the Buffalo Soldier Association has been doing since you were probably about 19 or 20 years old. So I want to ask you why it's so important well, why was it so important then? Because you were a young buckaroo, right? And now, being seasoned, why is it so important for you to carry the baton which has now been passed?
Wow, what a great question. So, back in the day, it is true, we was running around and this as a soldier, you challenge the world, being a woman out there and, you could be all you could be, if she could do it, I can do it too. And that was the thing, that we would make sure, just because I was a woman didn't mean that I couldn't do everything that else, that everyone else did participate in. And we were successful at that.
I like what you said, and I know some of you are watching and thinking, well, what does this have to do with your book launch, LaWanna? Well, it has everything to do with it. The book is entitled "I Pledge Allegiance: A Journey Through the Words That Shaped a Nation," and the book is in dedication to my father, who joined in 1948 when it was still a segregated army. He did join a Buffalo Soldier unit, so it was a soldier of distinction, 30 years, and as he always said, don't forget 30 days. And he was one of the mentors for Demetria. And we lost Dad in September. But what I wanted to do was, it's like, how can I continue the work that he did and that you all are doing? And so I wanted to not only dedicate the book to him, but dedicate all proceeds now and forever of this book to the work that the Southwest Association of Buffalo Soldiers is doing to, number one, preserve military history, Black military history, specifically the history of the Buffalo Soldier, because we know right now our history is being challenged, right? And I have right here behind me, and I'll just read it. It says, "The issues of today are loud and urgent, but what matters to me in this moment is the mirror, the reflection of ourselves in the words that we say over and over again." And it takes people like you, Demetria, and me through this lens of a book to tell people, it's not a political conversation I'm trying to have, but it's let's speak truth to power and stand for what we know is right to ensure that tomorrow is better for the next generation.
It's so empowering. When I want to talk about Sergeant Major Holland Bradford was in uniform when I first met him. And I was very scared of him. I was intimidated, this little PFC. And I didn't know nothing. But he always took the time to reach out to me and to talk. And he showed me the value, or was purposely become that Black leader that was standing in front of us, that had rank, and he had conversation. That is what is critical today, that we need to talk to our young people to say, hey, we are here to talk to you, to give you the guidelines to keep going. The injustices that are going on today, the not recognizing the legacy of who we are, it is up to us to tell our own truth and to be able to provide the respect and honor, the dignity that they would never provide. So we have to do that. Here it is, this Sergeant Major of the Post. Let me say that he has been and he has done his time. He has been in battle. He has been in leadership. He has been the one to talk to the colonel, suggest these are the things that the soldiers need. These are the things that we need to put in place. He took the time upon himself, them extra hours set aside, just like me today, that we go out. In addition, we pass on and we go beyond the call. That's our theme this year, is beyond the call of duty, to make sure that the young people understand what's going on. Our young families that are coming up, that they are encouraged that you can join the military. We fought for America. We are a part of history that is absolute and necessary to this day, that we take part in everything that happens. And this is the time not for us to pull back, but to stand up to it. Being the leaders who we are in our communities, it doesn't matter where you at. It stands up to say, I am here and we will support.
I like that. I want to read before we sign off just a little excerpt from my book that pretty much says what you just said. It says, and I'm talking about, again, the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I said, when I went to school or we went on base, there were other children of military parents. There was an incredible sense of pride when I would see this flag flying high, when I would hear the Star-Spangled Banner playing, or when I would hear revelry and everyone would stop and salute. But I didn't understand. And I woke up this morning and I thought back, and I really didn't understand the significance of it. I was told to line up, and this is what you do. I was then told when you see it, respect it. I was told to be proud of it. I was told that this is what Dad and other people in the military were fighting for. I understood the good in concept, but I didn't understand in theory. And I didn't understand from a personal application of what this flag meant, or that one day, even though I never wore the uniform, I would become a patriot who believed with all my heart in those words.
Yes, awesome. To uplift and to know, to have pride in something that we live here in America. We are Americans. We fought in the wars. We have families here. We help build things and be a part in today, 2025. That is so empowering when we have a lot of people who come up and want to be naysayers. They don't want to support America, but we are one of the best countries in the world. So when we pledge and take the time to speak out on our freedom and our liberty to be equal, just like the Constitution says, that what gives us that pride that we can continue to go on and recognize our youth for who they are.
So if people want to be a part of the Buffalo Soldier Association, the Southwest, little tongue tied, Association of Buffalo Soldiers, or donate, how can they do that?
You can find us on the web, on the internet. And the name of our website is SWA, Buffalo Soldiers with an S.org. That stands for Southwest Association of Buffalo Soldiers. Southwest Association of Buffalo Soldiers has been established since 1992. It is a great place. There you can find about our organization. You can join the membership on the website, and you can also donate to the cause. We are always out educational, giving out the information. We are a legal 501c3 or tax exempt, and we support all. We're just invited to come in, and we will share the stories of the Southwest and what the Buffalo Soldiers represent for us. And we want everyone to adopt them, to go out and tell these stories too. These are the greatness of America. This is the greatness of who we are. Being a retired woman, young black, just came up, 17 years old, and my mom had to sign for me to join the army. So from that, traveling the world, the things that my family would have never been able to send me to, is just fantastic. So we support that, and the Pledge of Allegiance is so important. America is so beautiful that we cannot stop doing what holds and ties us together, and that is the principle.
Well, Demetria, thank you so much for joining me, for telling the audience a little bit about the organization who will benefit from this book and whose work helped to inspire this book. You can get your copy of I Pledge Allegiance, Journey Through the Words That Shaped a Nation on Amazon Kindle edition. You can see the link below. Please go get your copy. Paperback will be available later this week. We're excited. You see, there we go. We actually tracked to number 1 release. We've dropped to number 2, but it doesn't matter. We've still been vying for 1 and 3. And we've hit as high as number 39 of the top 100 in the history of race and ethnic relations. So we're just real excited of what we're able to do with this little book that I believe will have a big impact.
I'm excited to work with you. We'll go out and we'll talk to some folks. I think it's going to be a great thing. So I look forward to this new greatness that is coming on this next generation. People like you is an encouragement. I pray that we have more families that come out and write their books and tell their stories about their fathers and mothers and that, because that is what's going to keep us grounded and we know we can move forward. With the grace of God, the Pledge of Allegiance will carry us just a little bit further.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank
And
you. Blessings to you.
see you soon. I want to tell you just a little bit about the Pledge of Allegiance. Before I started digging, I was thinking it had been around a lot longer than it actually had, but 1892, right? Shortly after slavery. And I wondered, okay, that's kind of interesting. Why? What was the significance of the year 1892? Well, that was the 400th anniversary of when Christopher Columbus discovered America. And the school system, the educational system of the U.S. at that time, said, we want to embrace this, celebrate this holiday, but do so in a way where everyone is kind of on the same page, i.e., it's indoctrination, but let's not say that. Because at that time, there was a growing number of immigrants in this country. And they wanted to find a way to bring everyone together, corral them in nicely, and place them in this box of what America was. That's in essence what it was about. And so Francis Bellamy actually wrote the Pledge of Allegiance. He was a socialist Christian and a Baptist minister. So in 1892, we started to pepper this throughout the United States, and soon it became part of our educational structure. And if you're like me, you went through this. You said the Pledge of Allegiance day in and day out. But I don't know about you, but at that early age, and even I was thinking later on, was it ever really explained to me the background and the why and how it had changed over the years? Because see, when it first began, it was, I pledge allegiance not to the flag, but to my flag. It was celebrating at that time the diversity of the communities that were becoming part of our melting pot. But then the powers that be said, no, we don't want to celebrate everyone's backgrounds and cultures. Let's not do that. Let's make it very specific and say to the flag, one flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, the republic, the government entity, the people, the people. And we know so many people don't feel like we, those marginalized communities, are being seen, being recognized. It's like, when are you going to recognize me as an American, as part of the fiber of this country? And so this book takes you through a little backwards glance as to what happened in history, how things may have been misinterpreted, right? When we look at certain acts of defiance, we hear that, someone is not respecting the flag. They're taking a knee. They're pulling up, the Black Power sign on the Olympic stage. What is going on? But when you understand the backstory and you understand the why, you realize, no, it's not defiance in the sense you're thinking of. It's saying, wait a minute, we're saying the flag, the pledge represents something, but we, part of the people, are not feeling that it is paying us the same type of respect. We are asking, we are demanding that this pledge, this flag, be all that it says that it can be, all that we believe and hope that it can be. Because the pledge, it's an ideal, it's hopeful, right? And that's what the foundations of it came from. But then it didn't say one nation under God in the original version. That wasn't until 1954 when Eisenhower, and we're now post World War II and we're dealing with the Cold War. It's like, okay, we've got this pledge. We need to make sure that we know very clearly there's that side of the coin And then here we are. We're a Judeo-Christian country, and we want to make sure that that's very clearly stated in what we say over and over and over again. So that, in a nutshell, is the history of how the pledge came about and its root in indoctrination, whether we want to recognize it or not. But this journey in this book, it's not a partisan conversation. It's not even a political conversation. It is me looking at life through my lived experience. It's me taking a backwards glance in that rearview mirror and assessing the journey that we have taken and asking myself as we look forward, we today who have responsibility and accountability, where will we be on the other side of history? How will we be reflected? Will we be individuals who truly can say, yes, we lived this belief system here. We truly lived one nation under God. We truly lived as the United States of America that is indivisible. We truly live the United States of America that believes in justice and liberty for all. Because honestly, right now, we're not there yet. Doesn't mean we can't get there in time, however long that may be. But right now, it feels like we're doing a little backpedaling. And that can be very frightening for some people. And I unpackaged some of that conversation in this book. But we're going to take a little bit of break and we'll be back where you can hear some input from other individuals who have read the book and also from one of my key partners who helped me in celebrating and amplifying the message in this book. And right now, to our sponsor, my company, the Bradford Group, which is a commercial and investment mortgage company. Well, I'm excited because I have another person who has pre-ordered this, my book, I Pledge Allegiance, A Journey Through the Words That Shaped the Nation. And this is none other than the amazing Carmen Trimble. Carmen is a serial, Carmelita, let me give you her full name. Trimble is a serial entrepreneur as well as a real estate investor. And we want to find out what prompted Carmelita to press buy now. Carmen, what do you have to say for us?
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me and allowing me to give my opinion about your book, which is excellent. I know it's going to be excellent because all of your books are. What made me press it, the title, I Pledge Allegiance, that took me back to childhood. It took me back to now and everything in between as far as our place in society, the importance of having an allegiance to our country in the midst of everything that's going on. So I was just very curious as to what can she say to kind of make everybody okay or understand or just whatever about this and those words that we all spoke and still, pledge in school. So yeah, that's kind of what made me say, hey, I really, really want to read this book the second it is available. Yes.
Oh, I'm excited that you did. As you can see, we were already went to Amazon, #1 in the new release under History of Ethnicity and Race Relations. We have been floating between 1 and 3 position, and then for total Amazon books in this category, we went as high as 39 in the top 100. So
Oh, wow.
I'm just real excited about that. And I thank you so much for your support. And is there anything else that you want everyone to know before we sign off?
Buy the book. I mean, I think, yeah, I think it's going to be a catalyst to a lot of thought-provoking conversations about those words, how many words did you say there were, LaWanna? How many, is it 27, our Pledge of Allegiance? However many words are in there, how important those words are then and now in the midst of everything. And I'm just know that you're going to say something that's going to spark a lot of conversation. It's going to be positive. So I'm looking forward to it and just so pleased that you took the time to do that.
Thank you. Thank you so much for just coming on for my book launch. I'm real excited, and we will stay in touch, and can't wait till you get to the final page to give me your full review.
Absolutely. I can't wait either. You know, I think I know I won't be able to put it down. I know I can't. I'm not going to be able to put it down.
Well, thank you
Yes.
so much, Carmen.
You're welcome.
This is so exciting. I can't believe the date is here, and I keep talking about I Pledge of Allegiance, but now you can get it. I Pledge Allegiance, a journey through the words that shaped a nation. And I have a very special person who is in studio with me, and that's none other than Ross Kleinberg. Ross is a New York, yay, round of applause. He is a New York City-based publicist and earned media specialist. And why am I bringing him on? You're wondering, what's this all about? It's because it really takes a team to not only help to be a support around your book, but when you're looking at visibility, branding, and just amplifying the message in different audiences, you want to have the right people on your team. And Ross is one of the key players on my team. He has been instrumental in other lanes that I've communicated in. And this is the first time that I'm doing a solo book project that can kind of cross the lanes of being a little controversial. But what I love is he's had me on different platforms, from radio to actually 3 key radio shows. And each of the interviewers, Ross, have come from very different perspectives, because this book pulls from your lived experiences. So I just want to ask you, first of all, I want to say thank you.
My pleasure.
The timing and lining this up is so perfect. So strategy is key. But tell me, how were you even able to pitch this idea to where people wanted to listen and lean into what I had to say about I Pledge Allegiance?
Well, my specialty is building relationships and connections, and especially with books, when you get that third-party validation to earn you respect, and key demographics will come into your lane much more favorably when other people attest to how credible you are, how trusted you are, and that speaks volumes about new books, initiatives, missions, anything. I think that is why this connection has been so amazing in terms of how to get your book out there, visibility, attention, awareness. That is what's going to drive people to not only listen, hear, but engage. And that is where the media specialist comes into play.
I love that. So let me just ask you on a reader or interest lens, what was your thought when I came to you about this particular book? Because as I said, you and I have spoken from a business lens, financial lens, and all of a sudden I said, hey, I got this book about I Pledge Allegiance.
I think when it's personal, that hits home. In PR, we try to develop news angles, strategies that are going to really dig deep to another level, not just surface, but really hit home. When this book was approachable in terms of what you can talk about, in terms of family, in terms of connectivity, that is why I think this project specifically hits people differently but also in a way that really values what we try to bring to the table in terms of voices, different opinions. Again, we want debates, we want engagements, we want discussions to be really deep. That is what the media look for, and I think that is why this is turning into such a big success.
Yes, and look, I'm now a bestseller.
Yeah, woohoo! And again, that is something that you can't buy. Again, everyone wants book sales. That is not really why people hire publicists. They really want the attention, the validation, places to showcase, leverage, market your coverage so other people can come on board, get involved, talk. That is really what the basis of strategic marketing is, and how PR is such an undertone to that.
Yes, and I think this has been definitely a win-win partnership. We've been working together since, I think, January of this year, and looking to possibly extend and make more impressions around the world. But before we sign off, I want you to tell people how can they get in contact with you if they're interested in exploring more about strategic marketing and positioning and branding themselves.
Yeah, I'm always open to discussions. My business model is all through referrals and networks. That's how really I develop such close partnerships. And what I value most is loyalty. So people can connect with me on LinkedIn. That's probably the best where people can find me, recommendations, media coverage I've generated for other client partners. People can find me on Instagram at kberg media. People can email me at rgkleinberg@gmail.com, but I'm always open to developing new ways to generate, again, visibility, amplify coverage, all through third-party validation.
I'm going to put this in here, rgkleinberg@gmail.com.
Yeah, LinkedIn, Ross Kleinberg, and Instagram at kberg media.
Kberg Media. Okay.
I'm a 24/7 New York City type personality, so I don't sleep. I'm always available, accessible, and this is my passion point. I'm completely relentless and tenacious on delivering results for clients, but more importantly, building relationships that are going to matter, not just today, tomorrow, but always.
Yeah, I love that. And to those that are watching, Ross is a real deal. We met through a mutual acquaintance, and things have just grown from there. If you want to get a copy, no, I'm going to ask you to get a copy of I Pledge Allegiance, A Journey Through the Words That Shaped the Nation. This, I promise you, is going to be a book that is transformative. It's peppered with questions. It takes you through my discovery of what it means to me today, and how I show up as an American. And if you care just a little bit about this country and where we're going and what we could be, read this book. I guarantee you at the end, you will be transformed and changed. You may not end up where I did in my journey, but it will be where you are intended to be, to make an indelible impact on this world so that we can improve this country for the next generation. And Ross, thank you so much for assisting me and being with me and hand-holding me along the way. I'm looking forward to more exposure, and I wish you well.
Thank you so much. Congratulations on all your efforts. You're making a difference.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, I want to, I always think about there's no great opportunity in a book signing or any sort of promotional, but to take a moment and read something about your book. Well, I want to read this one section, and this is where I talk about what the book is, how you can use it, how you can benefit from it and grow from it. I said, this book is not to be read passively. It is meant to be entered, sat with, wrestled with, It calls not just for your attention, but for your presence, not just for agreement, but for honest interrogation of what the Pledge of Allegiance means to you today, in this season, in this body, in this America. Each chapter opens up a phrase from the pledge, not as rote recitation, but as a living question. What does this promise ask of me? Where do I see myself in these words? And where do I feel left out? How do I carry liberty, justice, unity, and faith in my home, my work, and my community? See, these questions are not rhetorical. They are doorways to a deeper truth. They are meant to stir your spirit, challenge your assumptions, and expand your understanding, not just of this nation, but of yourself. I did not write this book to deliver answers. I wrote it to spark reflection, to create a space where our lived experiences, Black, Brown, Indigenous, Asian, immigrant, soldier, mother, teacher, child, all can gather around the same fire and ask, what does allegiance look like when it is rooted in truth? This book is for the young and the seasoned, for the students and the veterans, for families seeking language for difficult conversations, and for individuals ready to confront the gap between the ideal and the real. It is meant to be shared, read aloud, underlined, discussed, and passed down. I wrote this as a daughter of a Buffalo soldier and a U.S. Army veteran of over 30 years, and Dad always said, don't forget the 30 days. As a Black woman who has tasted both the promise and the pain of this country. I wrote it not to condemn or to glorify, but to reflect, to reckon, and to remember. I wrote it so that we might together reimagine what it means to pledge our allegiance, not just with words, but with our lives. So don't just read this book, enter it. Let it be your mirror, your compass, your call. Sit with the answers. Wrestle in the silence. And when you are ready, stand tall in your truth and pass it on. Because this is not just my story. This is our America, and the next generation is listening. That's the essence of this book. As I said, it's something to enter in, to be reflective, to contemplate on, to ask yourself the tough questions, to align it with your truth, sort of your day of reckoning, if you will. And then decide for yourself, what are the next steps? Is this an opportunity, as Congressman John Lewis said, to get into trouble, good trouble, necessary trouble? Or will you be complacent and be fine being on the sidelines? Or will you be one to ensure that you stand up with a voice that is rooted in truth, that will not be silent or sidelined, in order to ensure that our America is one that is sustained, enhanced, and improved for generations to come, so that it becomes an America that truly is that beacon on a hill, that symbol of hope and promise for the world, not just in word, but in deed. We will be back in a moment as I will share some insights from other individuals who have graced my stage and have shared their time with me. This has been amazing. I want to first say thank you so very much for the opportunity to just be your host on Business and Financial Raw Talk, coming to you every single week. And I want to thank you and those who have supported me along this journey, for those who have purchased my book, for those who will soon purchase the book. Thank you so very much. And I want to read one part before I go of this book, one little chapter. And you can always go to Amazon.com if you want to read a sample of this. And I want to say this, and this is, I think it's important to remind you that I'm not a historian or a political science enthusiast. I'm only someone whose curiosity was piqued by cataclysmic moments, moments of that day. A shift had occurred, not just around me, but within me. And I'm referring to the moment that I watched on TV where something shifted. I didn't want to simply watch the noise of the day's headlines or be swept up in the tidal wave of opinions and rhetoric. I felt compelled to pause and to seek, to examine the foundational truths I had always taken for granted. I wasn't looking to make a political statement. I was searching for understanding, for grounding. I wanted to know where these words came from, why we still say them, and what they ask of us now. The questions in my mind were no longer just quiet musings. They became urgent, pressing, and alive. My own brother became a naturalized citizen, though born to American parents. He still had to go through that process because of the way laws were written at that time. Those laws have since shifted, but it made me think if laws can change or access can change, identity can change, or at least what the nation calls you can. I remember a conversation with my dad during the height of COVID. When we talked about identity, he said, when I was born, we were Black, then we were colored. His birth certificate said so. Since then, we've been Negro, Black, Afro-American, African-American, and now it's / African-American Black. Every generation given a new name, but never quite just American. So when we say one nation, were we ever really? Because our American identity was often wrapped in qualifiers based on where we were born or where our ancestors came from. And that's complex. There's nothing wrong with honoring our roots, celebrating the strength and resilience in our blood. But I wonder, does this create internal conflict? Or is it a call to see the full, brilliant mosaic of this country? This nation has always been a paradox, equal parts hope and heartbreak, promise and pain. But somehow every school child, no matter the color of their skin, no matter their origin, was taught to stand with their hand over their heart or salute with solemnity over offering a gesture of surrender and respect to a flag that represents more than a nation. It represents an ideal. One nation under God, indivisible with liberty and justice for all. Those words have grown heavier over time, yet more sacred. And now I find myself not just reciting them, but interrogating them, embracing them, wrestling with them, and ultimately believing in them with my whole heart. This book is born out of that reckoning. It's the journey of a Black woman, a patriot, a daughter of a Buffalo soldier, an American searching for meaning to a pledge I've known and recited through rote memory all my life. But I can now humbly say that I didn't have the depth of knowledge that I do since writing this book. You'll notice there are going to be questions, as I mentioned, but it's by design. And as I mentioned, it's not a passive reading experience. The internal questions echo something I remember from The Matrix. Trinity doesn't offer Neo all the answers. She offers the right questions because the real answers, they're not handed to us. They're uncovered, they're wrestled with, they are lived. So as you read, don't rush past the questions. Sit with them, revisit them, use them as mirrors. The answers, should we dare seek them, are already stirring within each of us, waiting for voice. As I went on this journey of self-discovery, I came to my truth. When I place my hand over my heart today, I do so not out of habit, but with intention. Thank you so very much for joining me for this special edition of Business and Financial Raw Talk. You can get your copy of I Pledge Allegiance, A Journey Through the Words That Shaped the Nation on Amazon. Thank you again for your support. Be safe, be well, and remember that in life and in business, when your vision intersects with opportunity, success is inevitable. Bye for now.